Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. If you have a question or you want to talk to Michael, please press 1. That puts you in queue. And there's no one in the chat room right now, so if you're having difficulty or something, please hit a refresh button on your computer because I'm showing that there's nobody out there, which is unusual. Dr. Tim's with us on the phone. David's not with us today. And it's raining here in Florida. Welcome, Dr. Michael. Oh, and today is Memorial Day Celebration 197.
197. Awesome. What is Memorial Day Celebration 197? Well, what we've chosen to do is to honor, actually both Veterans Day and Memorial Day with a request of everyone. And that request is that we each begin to take responsibility for what's happening in our lives, especially with what's happening inside of us. And instead of choosing to blame everybody else for what's going on in our internal world, we invite you to make the choice to be responsible for what's going on in your internal world. Of course, how do you tell what's going on in your internal world? You feel it. Your mind may tell you the lie, show you the lie in spades that it's all somebody else's fault. But as I love to say, you'll notice if you've been through it 87 different times with 42 different people, you're the only one that's been there every time. And so what that means is that you're responsible. Doesn't mean you're to blame. Doesn't mean it's your fault. Doesn't mean you're guilty. Doesn't mean you're bad. Doesn't mean wrong. It just means you're responsible for what's happening inside of you. And if you stay in denial, if you keep pretending that somebody else is causing what's happening inside of you, then you're not able to change what's happening inside of you. It creates a disability within us. And so what we're looking to do is to empower people to be able to be responsible for everything that's going on in their world, internally especially. And if you don't like it, change it. How do you change it? The changing of it is called forgiveness. The will is condescending to believing that forgiveness is I'm going to let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. And the more you let somebody off the hook for what's happening inside of you, the stronger that which is happening inside of you becomes. And so we're looking to change that by inviting you to be responsible and forgive. So here we are. Dr. Tim, how are you this morning?
Had a very busy.
Are you with us, Dr. Tim? I'm not hearing anything.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are. That mute button is a trickster, isn't it?
Yeah, well, apparently it wasn't on, but I can't get in the chat room either, so.
Oh, that's strange. Jeanie was saying that there's nobody in there, so maybe there's a problem with the chat.
It's now registering that there are 2 people in there, and it tells me that I'm logged in, but it's not showing that I'm there. So I'll keep refreshing and playing with that, but I'm doing well. We've had a very busy weekend, and staying healthy and relatively happy. Still doing the 5 worksheets a day and watching all the stuff that helps me release.
It is a fun process, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when And when Dr. Tim talks about the worksheet, if you're new to the whole show, we're glad you're here. You can find the worksheet that we're talking about, which is the Aramaic internal process of forgiveness, on our website, which is whyagain.com. And so you can jump on the website, find the worksheet. If you look on the right-hand side, there's a link that says Download Worksheets. If you hit that link, that will take you to the latest and greatest. And actually, as we're speaking, I've gotten feedback from several people on the worksheet. And so as we're speaking, Jeanie is probably at this very moment, although she's in another building right now.
Now give me a few more minutes.
There you go. Okay, so Jeanie's going to work on getting that worksheet onto the website so that everybody will be able to access the latest worksheet. There are some
new changes since version 10?
Yes.
Well, actually, then I have mistakenly titled this one 10. I didn't realize. I guess we published one, but yeah, I've gotten feedback from several people, including yourself, Tim, and so I've made some minor changes. Nothing major. Actually, there's one probably key idea that's new to the worksheet from our last version, and that is that in number 5B, we're suggesting that people add in to heal their capacity, or it's just capacity to generate, number 1C, the emotion. We're also suggesting that folks invite help in healing their denial. So coming out of the state of denial, which is something I've often suggested or thought about going to Congress and suggesting to make the first state, because most people live there all the time. So we've added that one, but just shifted a couple of lines around, and then we created a supplement. So the supplement, if you hit the download, you'll actually be downloading 2 worksheets. There'll be one which has all the definitions in it, and then there's one where I took the definitions out, I restructured it, so there are 2 different places on the worksheet. Several people had said, I really liked being able to put some notes on the sheet. So now there's room for notes. And what we'll be doing, as we had talked earlier, Tim, is we're going to be printing a workbook with 200 worksheets in it, and we'll put one copy. The first copy will be the full worksheet with all the definitions and all, and then the second one will be the supplement, so that there's a little more room to write, and the definitions will be gone, and I've kind of tightened the spacing up a little bit and that sort of thing. So, but you sound shocked, Tim. That there will be a new worksheet.
I'm in the middle of a series of worksheets on the new worksheet.
Oh, awesome. Well, it's kind of fun over the years of doing this, and of course this is probably at least version 3022 now. I have, each time I bring out a new worksheet, there's always a big, I like the old one better. And of course the new people come along and start with the new one, and then when I change it, they go, I like that new one you did, that which is now to them the old one. I like that one better. And so there is, I think, some of the game of, wait a minute, we don't want change. We want things to stay the way we're used to them. And so that's good, a series of worksheets on worksheets.
Well, whatever stirs up the stuff is good, because the stuff that's sitting in there isn't helping me.
It's a good thing, yes. I'm in full agreement. And as I say, this is at least version 3022. And let's see. Since we first started talking about shifting this worksheet, there's probably been at least 100-plus hours going to reorganizing, putting the worksheet out, and then restructuring it. Spacing and all that is all kinds of fun to get it all on one page. And, of course, we could stretch it out easily to 2 or 3 pages, but then you wouldn't be able to hand people a single piece of paper and have the whole worksheet there. So we've considered doing a 2-sided worksheet, taking the page and stretch it out to 2 sides. But then what we like to do when we travel is, when we do a workshop, is have everybody walk out with a copy of the worksheet that's blank, as well as the one they filled out. Well, when you're on the road for 6 to 10 months at a time, it gets to be a lot of paper to carry. So I work to keep it on one page, and I think that as opposed to a lot of new ideas, what we're doing with the new form of the worksheet is simply reinforcing and putting together some of the information from the workshop so that the reminders built into the whole workshop or into the whole worksheet for really the key steps in the worksheet. So if you look in your inbox, actually, Tim, you'll find the newest one. I just sent it about maybe 10 minutes ago.
Okay. Well,
So maybe that'll give you some new worksheets to do. That'd be awesome.
I'm still working through a large stack of both version 8s, because apparently there's more than one version 8. But so I'm going to be using those, and
yes,
I mix in the new ones so I get
right.
the ideas, but I don't want to throw out the old paper since I was what would you call it, too proactive, and went and printed out about 40 of the version 8 when they came out as the perfect worksheet.
Well, and what I'm doing, I mean, I'm still using some of the 2 versions back. We were on the road. We printed a bunch of them, and so I mean, when I say a bunch of them, I mean hundreds. And so what I'm doing is keeping the latest version in front of me while I'm using that, so that I'm still using the new steps in the worksheet, which I think really adds significantly to the worksheet, and using up the old paper, because I'm the same. It's like, no, we can't throw these trees away. We've printed it. We'll use it. So it's a good thing. So, Jeanie, do we have any callers? Is anybody in the chat room with a thought?
We actually have a whole bunch of callers on the line, and the new worksheet is now on the website.
Awesome. Well, everybody can go jump on www.whyagain.com. And on the right-hand side, there's a link that says Download Worksheet. The second link will be the latest worksheet. And when you download that, you'll actually be downloading 2 copies. There'll be one with the definitions, and then there'll be a supplement where I've changed the spacing around so there's some room for notes.
Awesome. So our first caller, I think, is Carolyn. It's 541 area code, and then we have 2 more people holding. So if y'all will just hang on, we'll get to you as soon as we can.
Cool.
Hi there,
Carolyn,
Michael. Hi there, Michael and Jeanie.
Hi there, young lady. How are you?
Well, thanks for calling me young. I had a really interesting insight. I'm a naturopathic physician, and even though I'm 76, I'm still working a little bit. And there's one person who's he doesn't have any money. So I've been helping him buy stuff basically at cost. And he is the most negative person and always plays the victim role. And it sets me off into being a victim and all my old victim stuff. And we had an interaction a couple weeks ago where he just showed up and asked if he could help me. That was like, he didn't want to help me. He wanted help. And so I asked him to come in as much as I didn't want to. He came in. I spoke to him for 10, 15 minutes, or more than that, actually. And then I said, I really need you to go. And why do I have to go now? And I just said, I need you to leave. So he left, and then he called me, and he said I had overcharged him for the stuff I had ordered for him. And I had. I mean, I'm just tired of always giving him, my cost when he just annoys me so much. So
now, wait a minute. Can I interrupt you there for a second, Carolyn? Now,
yes,
so something outside of you annoys you? Is that what you're telling us?
He annoys me.
So he is the cause
I allow him to annoy me. I get set off by him.
So here's my highest thought is to share with you and to everybody on the show is that, we've talked about, and you'll see in the new worksheet that we make notes about how in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells fire, the max amount of information we can be aware of at any given moment is 9 bits. That's some Harvard research. It's been estimated in that same time frame, which is the 1/25th of a second, that there are approximately 20 trillion bits of data potentially available. So here I am in a 20 trillion bit world with 10,000 brain cells firing, and I get to see 9 bits. Something tells my mind which 9 bits I get to see. And my something is the words that I use. The words, it's kind of, remember the kids' little, you probably bought your grandkids a little ball, and there's several shapes, and there's a star, and there's a square one, and there's a round peg, and only one peg or one piece will fit into each of those holes. You remember that toy?
Yes.
So your words are like those spaces. And only what matches those words can come through those spaces to conscious awareness, the 9-bit mind. So when I say, and the reason I stopped you mid-sentence, and I apologize if someone has stuff about me interrupting, but the idea isn't to interrupt, the idea is to feed back. When I use the words, he annoys me, what I'm doing is I'm limiting the spaces through which information can come to mind, show me evidence that he is the cause of my annoyance. So now I am, by my own words, cut off from the cause of my annoyance. When I'm cut off from the cause of my annoyance, I can't change it. So now the power's outside of me to cause annoyance, or so it appears. The truth is, he comes along, you have an old friend called annoyance. I guarantee, Carolyn, before you ever met this guy, you knew this quality of annoyance. Is that true?
100%.
100%, 1,000%, for all of us. We're all both. So he, here's my thought. He may be a fully realized, conscious spiritual being who said, I'm going to go to Carolyn and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to show her all of her annoyance until she finally goes, I have a reality called annoyance. I think I'll forgive this. And the minute you forgive it, your whole relationship with him may change. Now, I wouldn't hold my breath for that to happen, but I've seen it happen. So when I use accurate language, it's like I'm using accurate openings for my reality to show up. So when I say, I realize when Charlie comes around and he wants things for nothing, he's playing the victim game, that he resonates annoyance in me. Ruka, I want to see my annoyance, and I want to remove annoyance from my life. I'm ready to do that. And he plays this victim game so well that it brings up all my frustration and anger about all the times when I was a victim or played the victim role and thought it was somebody else. So now I'm ready to refine my skill at forgiving victimhood and annoyance. I'm ready to sit down, put the pen to the paper on a worksheet, and get rid of this annoyance.
Well, I agree with you 100%. And but what I got to see was that sometimes my behavior has annoyed my daughter in the same way that he annoyed me.
He annoys you. Yeah, now you're telling me he annoys you. Is that what's accurate now?
That man, I allowed him to annoy me. I did the same thing that you and I are talking about now. And then I could see how sometimes that old behavior of mine annoyed my daughter.
Right. So I'd invite you to let yourself off the hook with that one. You've never annoyed your daughter in all your life, but your behavior has brought her annoyance up, which she probably got from you genetically. And as this fellow shows up to show you your annoyance, when you finally use the words of full responsibility, Charlie shows up and he brings up such annoyance in me, and I know that I need to forgive my capacity to be annoyed, so I'm going to start doing worksheets. because the non-being mind will try to turn the words, just a few degrees, so it sounds like I'm saying, oh, yeah, it's mine. But then I'm still coming down to, no, I wish to remain in denial. There's a new piece in the worksheet, along with where in number 5B you ask to have your capacity for whatever your emotion was removed to produce that. Well, it now has in there to remove my denial as well, because it's denial that's really in need of healing, and it's denial that leads us to hallucinate that everybody else is the cause of it. So you never caused it in your daughter. You may have given it to her genetically, but in terms of your behavior, it's never caused it. But obviously it's resonated it, and so he's never caused it in you, but has resonated it. And when you start to let loose of it, you're going to change the whole family dynamic around annoyance.
Okay. Well, thanks, Michael. That's,
Well, young lady, I am so delighted, because most people at your stage of youth have no interest whatsoever in changing their minds or their lives. It's all everybody else's fault. And so I acknowledge you for your willingness and your capacity and the shifts and changes that you're making. It's awesome. And yes, I will continue to call you young lady, because we are here for eternity. Okay. So I'm delighted to be sharing the planet with you.
Thank you so much for your help, Michael and Jeanie.
Okay, we'd love to hear from you. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Her voice is so young sounding, I was amazed when she said what her age was.
Now, Jeanie or Tim, neither of you guys have ever had anybody that has annoyed you, have you?
Me?
Well, I've learned that I'm the one doing it, and that's quite.
Oh, you just cut out. You got as far as that's quite, and then your voice went kind of funky. We lost you, Tim. I don't know what happened, but we lost you. Are you there, Jeanie?
I am. Yeah, I heard him disappear too. It kind of went
like
there? There he is.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, well, I was saying that.
So you were saying that you've noticed?
And it's a liberating piece of knowledge that when I realized I'm the one doing it, it was quite annoying at first, but then it became quite liberating.
I hear you. Been there, done that. I earned the T-shirt. And Jeanie, you've never had anybody annoy you, right? You don't relate to her conversation at all?
No, It was real funny. The other day I was working with someone doing a private session, and their significant other was there, and they said, she's doing worksheets on me. And I said, that's okay. I said, I do worksheets on Michael. I said, so you're in good company.
Well, you've only ever had to do one on me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay.
One a day, maybe, sweetie.
In our group, in our Tuesday night support group, we refer to our husband or wife or significant other as our favorite 1A.
Oh, yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
Yep.
There you go. And we embrace them in love. Well, I was actually having a conversation with someone out in, well, I guess we can mention Jeanette. She's been on the show before. I don't know. She may be listening today. But I was talking to Jeanette the other day, and we were processing some things, and I had what for me was a good insight. What was another, just another one of those little powerful refinements. And, we've talked before about how the non-being mind has a cheap copy of everything real in the spiritual dimension. And you hear the world talking about how, well, you just have to accept everything. You have to accept. And what clarified for me, because for years I've said, excuse me, thank you, there are certain things I'm not going to accept. I'm not interested. I pass. But what the refinement that came was, I am required by law. By law, I'm not required to accept everything. There are insane things in the world, and accepting them is an insane action to do. But what I am required to do is to maintain my human life and embrace everything that comes to me in that space of love. And as I embrace everything that comes to me in that space of love, then I get to forgive all kinds of things. And then out of a powerful voice of responsibility, I get to say to somebody, and this is not acceptable. If something is, bizarre, off the wall, just out of harmony with, say, for instance, where our relationship is or where our relationship agreement is. This is just not acceptable. So if somebody, comes along and comes to a workshop and sneaks out the back door with a whole set of DVDs, cancel the thought, and I happen to observe it, I don't have to accept that. Excuse me, I'm going to interrupt the flow, and if you keep running, I'm going to pick up and call 911 and ask to have you picked up. But what I am required to do is embrace that behavior. If that brings up, my fear of loss or my rage or my anger or whatever, that's my work to do. But I still can hold the person who stole the DVDs, again, cancel the thought, accountable for their behavior. So that was a nice piece that I got from Jeanette and I talking the other day. Jeanette, by the way, is doing a support group now. I don't know, Jeanie, is Jeanette's support group on the website?
I don't think she sent me the information, so no.
Okay, well, we'll have to check with her because she was working on those details last week. So Sandy, Utah, she's starting a support group, and she's been doing the worksheet. And actually, a couple of the changes on the worksheet were feedback from her. She's really been deeply, deeply engaged in the process. So I do choose to embrace everything in the space of my being and then recognize that when I can't, here's my next piece of work. And then from that piece of work and cleaning up my own mind, my own rage, my own fear, my own grief, my own pain, I get to change what's happening in my environment, in my world. So it's a great place to be.
Absolutely.
Jeanie, do you have a couple of other callers?
I do. I've got 3 more callers. And, Tim, in case you're not aware, you just disappeared off the switchboard. Our next caller is area code 413. You're on the air.
Hi, Jeanie. Hi, Michael. This is Linda from Massachusetts calling. Hi.
Nice
to
hear you, Linda.
How's the weather up in Massachusetts?
It's starting to feel like winter now, finally. It's beautiful and sunny, but in the 30s. So, but I wanted to just share. I just finished my first 200 worksheets yesterday.
Awesome.
And I'm doing,
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm doing the 5 a day that David had recommended through the rest of the year. I wanted to share a little bit about a little bit of a dynamic change yesterday. I guess that's how you describe it. My husband and I were going for a walk, and sometimes I walk kind of fast, and I forget he doesn't like to walk that fast. And so what happened was we got to a certain point in the walk where he just started walking really fast ahead of me, and I called out to him a couple of times, and he ignored me. And then the last time I said, well, if I didn't know any better, I'd think we were in Asia or something, and I was supposed to walk 20 feet behind you. And I was trying to make a joke out of it, but he wasn't. So he just kind of walked away. And so I said, well, okay, I'm gonna continue walking this way because I'd like to walk somewhere. I'm feeling pretty upset right now. And so it started resonating a lot of. I was really kind of furious. And then I was telling myself, well, I'm not going to be upset. I just started breathing. And then all of a sudden the thought came, well, maybe this is a symbol of where your marriage is going. You're going one way and he's going another. And then it just brought up all this fear about, maybe we're going to get divorced and, I don't know what's going to happen. All this stuff was coming up. And then all of a sudden the 9-bit mind came to me, and I was like, oh, wow, this is where I am right now. All this stuff is coming up, and I'm just not going to go there. And so the best I could, I just breathed the rest of the way through the walk, and I got home, and he was on the roof putting Christmas lights up, so I knew it wasn't a good time to bring anything up. So I went into my room with my worksheet and just burst into tears and let it all come out because there was so much going on within me. And I went through the worksheet, and what came up what was even seemed scarier to me than, the marriage ending was there was this familiar feeling of being abandoned in public and being humiliated and ignored and suffering humiliation. I don't know what that's all about, but I just made notes of that for more worksheets to do because I'd kind of forgotten about it until I went out for a walk today. And then I thought this was
fabulous
on the call.
It's interesting. Shut it down, isn't it?
Yes.
How quickly?
Yes. And so
I remember working with. Go ahead.
No, you. I'd rather listen to you. I'll remember.
Well, I was just going to say, I remember working with a woman several years ago who was in an intimate situation with her husband, and she had worked with a therapist who told her, if you're not particularly turned on, just think about the latest movie star that you find attractive, or what have you. And so she's in an intimate situation with her husband, and is fantasizing about somebody that, it was kind of spontaneous. She shared with me, and she was, she caught herself at that and instantly suppressed it. And as instantly as she suppressed it, as instantly as she went into denial and dissociated from that thought, all of a sudden, the next thing her 9-bit mind shows her is a reality of wondering if her husband's been screwing around on her. And just as instantly as she hid that in her mind that's exactly what she was doing, she all of a sudden fantasizes him. And so as opposed to my input, the reason I'm sharing that is because when you look at all those things that came up and you say, well, I don't want to feel it, I want to I'll breathe and just hide it. But what I really want to do when I find that dissociated stuff, instead of press it back down because it's going to turn up in another way like it did for you. Oh, well, he's walking away, and so now our marriage is going to end. So I dissociate from that, and I hallucinate something that, may become a creative process in my life that I don't have to. And what I want to do is breathe so that I'm able to feel that fully. I'm able to process through that thought of being abandoned or the feeling of being abandoned. Well, actually, that would be more a thought. I'm being abandoned. What's my feeling? I'm angry, or I'm sad, or I'm afraid, or whatever it is. So as I process through that, as I let myself embrace abandoned, I'm probably going to go back and remember when I was 3 years old and, went to the store with Mom and turned around and she was gone, and there was terror and, whatever it is I need to embrace. So I want to make sure when I touch into one of those things that I don't go into a premature positive thinking mode. Oh, well, I don't want to think that. If it's in there resonating, I want to feel it, I want to be with it fully, and I want to process it out rather than turn it into another hallucination that leads me deeper into the very state that I'm looking to heal.
Yes, that's really good. Julie and I were working together last Friday, and we were doing a worksheet, and it just had we started a second one, and I felt so great after the first one. I was like, all right. So she said, we have time for a second one, so we started it, and then I got into the feeling and the thought, and I said, I don't want to write that because I'm feeling good right now. And she said, you've got to put that down because this is, if you're thinking it, it's in your it's in your energy field. I forgot the word to use, but it's in your system. It's in your structure.
Yeah,
and so,
exactly.
And so I finally got that any thought that I'm having is, I just can't ignore it. So, but it's been a habit for a while. But it was great because she caught that, and so, and
thought is creative. Thought is creative. It's what I send the signals out to the world to create the results that I want. And that's why I'm suggesting that rather than when I'm walking, up comes this abandonment, I don't want to feel it, so what does my mind do? It hallucinates the next level of, oh, well, now we're heading to the divorce court. When, it may not be anything that even resembles that, but if I hide that and I'm in pain about, oh, boy, tears, sadness, grief about divorcing, then my mind says, okay, well, now we have to behave as if. And I'll walk on down the road and wonder why I ended up in a divorce court. Whereas the opposite is that, gee, I'm abandoned. I process through my abandonment. And then, maybe I share the space of, wow, we were out walking this morning. I got in touch with, some 3-year-old really feeling abandoned when you were walking ahead of me, and I tried to make light of it, and I didn't want to deal with it, but, thanks for bringing that up. And all of a sudden, because you've had that abandonment issue, instead of your mind hallucinating and going into the next level of, we're going to end up in divorce court, what happens is we get to have a good laugh out of it, and we get closer as a result of that thing that could have been a conflict. Because I communicate in a respectful way instead of making it yours. You abandoned me. Gee, this is what I got in touch with. Thank you. And what will happen is, good chance he'll start to notice that, wow, that's pretty awesome. That's because in the past it would have looked like, I'd have felt like I got battered and blah, 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 blah. And, however, all those things tend to happen. So that's some pretty nice catches, and you want to make sure allow those things to surface and process through them as opposed to, no, this is too painful to feel.
Well, yeah, as you say that, I can remember right in the beginning when I knew he was upset and just not going to respond to me. It was a flash of, humiliation. And then it was like, oh, my God, I guess our marriage might be over. And when I got home and did my work and saw all these abandonment and all that stuff, and then when he came in later, he came over to me to start to, he could see that I was upset, and I said, I just want to tell you that what happened on the walk, it triggered a lot of emotion in me, and I want to know if you can just hold the space for me. And he started to say, oh, I never meant to hurt you, blah, blah, blah. And I said, wait a minute, it's all about what's triggered in me. You're not responsible for the way I'm feeling right now or how I felt. I said, so if you could just hold this. He said, well, I would never do anything to hurt you, and I blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, if you could just not talk right now, that would really help me to hold the space and see that these feelings are about old stuff in me. So it was great because and then all the tears started flowing, and he was just hugging me, and it was quiet, and it was just, and then it was okay. And then later we just talked a little bit about, he was a little teased because I didn't slow down or something. But usually what it would have been is I would have just kind of given him the cold shoulder for the rest of the day, and then I would have said, right, how dare you walk away from me, or something, and blah 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 blah. So I just want to thank you because this is amazing.
That's fabulous. And there's a wonderful line in the Course in Miracles that says, there is no place so holy upon the earth as a space in which an ancient hatred becomes a present love.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And what you did is you took something, if you went back and had a conversation with mom and or dad, I'll bet you one or both of them had deep hurt about abandonment issues. If you were able to talk to your grandparents, all 4 of them, I'll bet you 1, 2, 3, or all 4 had deep pain about abandonment issues. Your great-grandparents, and you'd find somebody in the whole bloodline going back who knows how far about being abandoned. You watch people, there's an interesting dynamic that often happens when someone passes away, and that is the person who's left behind goes into rage. You left me. And they think it's about this person who died, excuse me, I had a choice. and of course it's not at all. What it's about is I have this thing about being abandoned, and there's a lot of pain, and what I use as a drug to cover my pain is my rage. So people rage at the person who died instead of going inside themselves and processing through their feelings of abandonment and sorrow and grief and loss. And it just creates such crazy dynamics in our culture and in our lives. It's outrageous, and it's the embracing of those things that allows the change to occur when we embrace it out of that true state of being. And/or very wise of you, when you weren't able to hold the space for yourself, that you asked him, and he was able to hear you and go, And if he hasn't read Why Is This Happening to Me Again yet, you might show him that chapter in the book about holding the space of love, and that'll help him to build a few more brain cells for, okay, cool. And that might just help him to grow an interest in what it is that you're doing and the changes that you're making.
That's a great idea. Thank you so much, Michael and Jeanie and Tim and Dave and everybody. It's just just feel so blessed, and I just can't say how much I appreciate all of you and this work.
I hear you, and I join you in that blessing. We're blessed at the same time. You know, there's another wonderful line in the Course in Miracles. It says, "Millions yet unborn will benefit from the work you've done." You've just created an energetic opening for this whole issue on another level to be healed on the planet, and it's one of the big ones. So, fabulous, nice work.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That ultimately leavens the whole loaf of humanity that helps us all to change.
Michael, before we go to the next caller, in the chat room they wanted me to write that quote out again about a love and an ancient hatred.
There is no place so holy upon the earth as the place where an ancient hatred becomes a present love. That's the whole purpose of this work. The whole purpose of this work isn't, creating belief systems or doctrines or dogmas or getting people to do anything other than create that space where the ancient hatred becomes a present love, and that we enter into a whole new experience of our human lives, and the people around us get to enter into that, and it changes everything. If you look at the work of every master that's ever come, that's what their work has always been.
Awesome.
Thank everybody for taking that thought and putting it to work in your life and being that transmuting space that changes the ancient insanities into present love.
Absolutely. Our next caller is area code 970. You're on the air.
Hi there, Michael and Jeanie. It's Carrie.
Hi there, young lady. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, and it was absolutely delightful to get to see you and get to play with you last week after a quarter of a century or so absent from our world.
Yep. Yeah, for me too. And I love that last quote you just said. Oh, it's so beautiful. It brought tears to my eyes.
Me I say it.
I have a big question for you. I have been doing the forgiveness worksheets every day, and I love them. And I do 5 to 10 of them a day. And if I wake up in the night and I'm worrying about something, I go, okay, put your headlamp and your glasses on and do a worksheet, and or 2 or 3. And sometimes I wake up in the morning worrying about things, so I just grab a worksheet right then. And one thing I will say about those worksheets, though, is they are I know you said that there's confusion when we're dealing with a lot of stuff coming up. So beyond that, though, I think there's a little bit of complexity there. And I will say the other download sheets that you have at your site kind of have helped me understand some of the different pieces of this sheet. And I thought there was a children's one. I don't have it in my pile of papers here, but is there a children's one up there too?
There is. Yeah, there is a children's. Yeah. I'm not sure. There may be several different children's worksheets on the site, Jeanie. Is there more than one of the children's sheets?
The children's worksheet is if you go to download worksheets, there's the new 7-step and then the MP3s and no issues and then the 12-step and long form. Then you've got a quick form and then the child's work it out sheet.
Okay. Yeah, I probably need to download that again because I'm just wanting to get myself really understanding what I'm doing in the process. And I feel like I understand it pretty well. And when I started out, all of my, my stress level at the beginning or my, I can't remember what it is. I don't have a sheet where you write it on the right, what your tension level about this issue is.
Right.
And when I started, even though it says 1 to 10, a lot of mine were like 14 or 15, and now I'm starting out at 9, and I was ending at 5 or 6 or 7, and now I'm ending at 3 a lot of times. So I'm seeing a shift taking place, which is really fun. So
awesome.
Yeah. So the question I have is, besides doing the sheets on people, I've also felt drawn to do them on an issue. So let's say poverty is an issue, or, not having enough, or my bank account being empty. And I'm wondering, is that appropriate? And then I'm not quite always sure how to fill everything in when I'm using an issue rather than a person.
Absolutely. You can do the worksheet on a person, place, thing, or event, past, present, future, living or dead, including yourself. And if you do a worksheet on yourself or someone else or an event, I use the example in the workshop of one of my favorite movies when I was a kid with these guys who rob a bank. They've got this old Model A Ford. They rob a bank, and they're racing out of town. And there's a curve at the end of the town. The guy misses the curve and smashes into a tree. He gets out of the car, and he shoots the car. So that would be a worksheet on a car. When you do an inanimate object or a situation or yourself, you'll do the worksheet as though you were dealing with a third person. So you had another person's name in there. So if you're doing one on yourself, then, number 1A, Carrie, I wake up in the night and I'm worried about money. How do I feel? Hopeless, helpless. What's the thought?
Okay.
No matter what, there's just never enough. I can remember when I was 3 and I heard these arguments about money and, whatever. So that
Are you channeling me? I'm just kidding. That was pretty good. Okay. All right, that's great. Because I've been a little bit confused, but I have been doing it on both. And then go ahead.
I think that you'll find that the one that Jeanie just uploaded is going to simplify the steps that were a little bit complex.
Okay.
And that was just the developmental process, and so I think that step 5 for several people had some complexity to it, and step 6 and 7, and so those ones have, I think, simplified significantly mainly by just rearranging the way the lines were laid out, and that was some of the feedback that I got from Jeanette as well. So.
Okay, great. I'll download one of those, and I did print 100 of the previous version, and I'll just keep doing those, but I'll get that new one to kind of enlighten myself a little bit.
Cool. And keep the number, the first copy, and then if you're going to make, the next time you're going to make a bulk of copies, then do the supplement, and that gives you more room to make notes and write additional thoughts. And one of the things that I do is when I do a worksheet, I've got a stack beside me, and everything that I touch into as I'm doing that particular worksheet, and you don't necessarily have to fill them out in order. So I'm doing a worksheet on Dad, and all of a sudden I find anger, and pops into my mind is a time when I was angry with my brother. So I'm going to just take the second worksheet. I'm going to stick with the one I'm on, but I'm going to take a blank worksheet, and I'm going to put brother, anger, bracket, just like with Dad. And I'm going to set that aside and continue the worksheet that I'm on. And I've had several worksheets that I've done where, I get 5 additional worksheets out of it.
Nice.
And as you peel through your whole mind and every little piece, you get to investigate the dissociated parts and throw them out. And when you do, all of a sudden the tendency to worry or concern or abundance, all that stuff just washes away, because as a creator, you function creatively, and there's the result.
Yeah, I definitely am waking up in the morning just feeling much more empowered. I'm feeling more aligned internally, and like there's not so much clutter in there getting in the way of me being, really a flowing, positive being. And that's really cool.
That is really cool. That's the kind of thing that opens a space. In Yeshua, I look at the amount of insanity going on in the world, and there have been times where I've said, there's no way to change this game. This is just too crazy. There are too many crazy people out there, and in here. And then I remember Yeshua saying, a little leavening leavens the whole loaf. The physicist in Aramaic said, all we have to do is get a few people through the gate, and there's going to be such a new energy flood the planet, it will change the whole game for everybody. And so that's kind of one of the things that inspires me, is each person who makes a breakthrough like you're doing, like Carolyn just spoke about. It's awesome. You know, Tim shared a really powerful one with us yesterday or Friday. That was I guess it was Thursday. In Thursday's show, that was really powerful. And each one of those breakthroughs that happens, that's what opens energetically the space for everybody on the planet. And so
yeah. One more quick question. I don't want to take up too much time. Let somebody else get on. I have the my commitment. I have the one to myself, but then I also have the one that a person would read to someone else. Right. And I guess I'm wondering, I had a relationship end recently or months ago, and I don't really want to be going back to a relationship with that person other than caring about them and being, friends and, having there be a loving space between us. But it almost feels like if I'm reading this, I'm almost trying to make, I don't know, would you read this to somebody that you ended a relationship with? I don't know if that's a dumb question.
Absolutely. The idea of that commitment is, and if you go to this step on step number 7, the principle of the universe is that by giving, I get the original.
Okay.
When you thought in that worksheet, in that commitment, it's got nothing to do with anybody else but you. And
okay.
when you choose to treat them lovingly, gently, and with respect in your thoughts, your words, your actions, whether in their presence or not, you're giving yourself a gift of original being, and then extending that original being to them. If there's any person on the planet, I don't care if it's a drunk in the gutter, and that drunk in the gutter, you look at them and you turn away in disgust. When you offer them that commitment, you get to heal your disgust.
Okay. Cool.
It doesn't include a demand on them in any way, shape, or form. It is a state of being that I choose to come from. And basically that commitment's come out of about 30 years or so of work. My first Healing Through Relationships workshop was entitled Healing Your Relationships. And then I discovered that there was no such thing as a diseased relationship. And I started to look at, okay, what do I need to deal with and heal in me in order to clean up this dynamic in the relationship? If you look through that whole commitment, you'll get to see every issue that I faced, because each time I faced another issue that I went, I can't be loved with this one. Okay, how do I bring forward that state of being in me when I'm facing that issue with whoever it is? And so each thought that's there is just another tool for, I'm going to hold this in my heart and listen. If I can cultivate the ability to stop telling my story in my head to myself that I want to pour on top of you and interrupt you with, and I stop and I just hold you in my heart, I breathe, I hold you in my heart and actually listen to what you're saying, perhaps for the first time in my life I'm going to get to hear something other than the conversation in my head that says somebody's out there to attack me. And that's going to change my life. So it's something you're really giving to yourself in either case, whether you do the first person or the third person commitment. It's really if you're giving yourself.
Cool.
So, and the most important people to give it to are the ones who can show you all your stuff.
Yep.
Which is, All right. All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you on Thursday, and thank you. That just brings the thought up that for those who might be up in the let's see, is it Palm Coast that she's in?
Yep, Palm Coast, north of Daytona Beach area.
Just north of Daytona Beach on Thursday night, or Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock. And the flyer's not on the website yet. We're just setting it up, but we'll be putting a flyer on the website. We'll be doing a lesson from the Course in Miracles called What is the World? At a home there, a Course in Miracles study group Thursdays. We'll put it on your calendar. We just scheduled it. The flyer's not ready yet, but it'll be on the website if you're in that area. Come and play. We'd be delighted to see you.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. And just to say, the cartoons that we draw or the pictures we draw on the worksheets are really fun and entertaining, too. If you didn't think you could draw, just give it a try. It's really fun. Okay, take care. We'll see you soon.
Okay, blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jeanie, we have another caller.
Our next caller's area code 517. Is this Rex?
It sure is.
Sounds like Lansing. Hey, how did things go on the weekend?
Oh, fantastic. I learned a ton.
There you go. Isn't it awesome
and
how you teach to learn?
Yes, and how did your workshops go, Michael?
It went well. We actually, on Thursday afternoon, we were saying to people, well, you know, we're going to go and spend some time with Jeanie's parents, and so Saturday, and at that point, Thursday afternoon, we had 3 people who wanted to breathe, and so we were like, well, you know, we're probably not going to do it. And Friday afternoon, we had a couple of people call, and there were 2 people in particular that we'd done some work with last year that really wanted to do some breath work. So we said, well, okay, we'll go ahead and do it anyway. We usually don't do it for less than about 15 people. And so we agreed on Friday afternoon to do it for 5, and we ended up with 10 breathers on Saturday morning. So it was good and awesome.
Wonderful.
Fabulous.
Well, I actually I wanted to share a couple things, Michael. I know we're getting short on time here. One was when you were talking about acceptance, a beautiful person and example came to me, and his name is Gandhi. And it was, awesome. I think, probably the most eloquent expression of embracing completely and totally, but only accepting into his realm of experience what he resonates with within that embracing love.
Yeah, and I would express that slightly differently, because I don't think there were a lot of things he would not accept. You know, there's a great scene, if you haven't seen the film Gandhi, it is awesome. But there's an awesome scene, a powerful scene where he goes into Colonel Smuts, who's kind of the symbol of every atrocity the British had done in England. And he goes in and he says to him, you know, I hope that the fact that I can't go along with or accept your insanity in what you're doing in your official doesn't get in the way of us as, you know, relating to each other as men. In other words, I love you like a brother, but I can't play your game. I'm not going to support you in it. So I see him embracing in love while not accepting the insane behavior. You still with us, Rex?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and actually that's what I thought I said, but, you know, one of those regulatory speech patterns may have come up that I didn't recognize. But what I actually meant to say was exactly that, and it is that he embraced all the things that were going on in his world through love, but he took action in such a way that he changed the world as a result of it. And it was that he didn't accept and wouldn't accept the violence and wouldn't accept and yes. So that was one part, Michael, and another part was the lady calling.
Conversation. Hold Rex. Rex, hold the conversation. We're complete. We're actually going to be. We've got about 20 seconds left, so we're going to have to flip into the intro or the outro. But maybe you could call us tomorrow. We can continue.
I'll see how my schedule looks, and I'll do my best. Bless you. Okay, bye.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.